told me he had cerebral palsy, they said he would be a vegetable. And I think the best thing about the rehab center here is they've done miracles for Robert.
There was one surgical procedure left that might work, and they tried it, and it did work, and we got to send him home.
She's just one healthy little girl. She's a very happy-go-lucky little girl, and just really a miracle.
That's what's so rewarding about pediatric cardiology is that when you win with a patient like this, we hopefully have won for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
It's just a miracle.
And we know that she's still, you know, sick little girl, but she's doing real well. Just it's 9 tenths of a miracle where she is right now.
You've just heard from the parents of some living miracles. Youngsters in Northwest Ohio whose lives have been saved by the miracle workers at the Medical College of Ohio and the Toledo Hospital. Tonight, we'll tell you some of their stories and about the efforts to improve the quality of life for sick and injured children all across this country. Children like Ashley Akins of Sylvania. She's blonde, blue-eyed, and extremely bright. She's also a very sick little girl, battling against a rare kidney disease that doctors cannot cure.
He came to my door and he said, "Mrs. Akins, your child is in severe trouble and she needs help right now."
Mary Akins calls her 4-year-old daughter a fighter, but then she has to be. Hospitalized 5 times in 20 months, Ashley almost died during her 153-day stay at MCO Hospital, the drugs swelling her body.
And I went and looked at her, and I didn't even recognize her. She looked awful. Her eyes were little slits. Her lips were turned inside out. We had to cut her hospital bracelet off and almost had to cut her gown off. She was swelling that rapidly, and she was in very severe trouble.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Canoe.
Huh?
Canoe.
Canoe? Canoe who?
Can you come out and play with me?
Can you come out and play with me? Oh, that's a pretty good one. Like all little girls, Ashley wants to be held, to ride her bike, and to go to school. But something as simple as catching a childhood cold could end in death.
We help her realize that she does have a disease, but when she feels good, then she can do anything she wants. When she's in a relapse and she's on her medication, that she's limited in activity, different types of food that she can eat, and but we're always honest with her, always.
Do you go in the hospital very often?
Why? More often.
Why do you go in the hospital, Ashley?
Because I get sick.
How sick do you get? Do you feel real bad?
Yeah, I vomit.
Oh, and what happens to you in the hospital?
I get IVs.
IVs, huh? Are those pretty uncomfortable or not?
Yeah. I get needles in me.
But it's those miracles of medicine which have kept Ashley alive the past 2 years, something which surprises even her doctor.
She's still not completely, you know, cured at this point, but she is now home and she is quite doing well and has a pretty nice recovery from a very serious situation.
There's some water.
Goody. Well, you have to get wet water, too.
Okay.
You have to fill up like me, Daddy, so you get some.
At about age 12, when she reaches puberty, she has about a 50-50 chance of somewhat outgrowing this disease. That's about the best hope we have. There's not a whole lot more hope other than that. I know and I just feel things are going to be fine. In the long run, and we've made it 2 years, and we can make it 8. If we've got to make it more years than that, we can.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray.
For children like Ashley, the services of the Medical College of Ohio and the Toledo Hospital are essential. Both offer general pediatric programs and combine expertise for advanced services in surgery, cardiology, oncology, obstetrics, neonatal intensive care, infectious diseases, psychiatry, and many other services that make the lives of our children better. In a moment, we'll see how Toledo's miracle workers have joined with hospitals across the nation to make miracles happen.
Well, hi.
Hi. This is my cousin.
Your cousin?
Yeah, I work downstairs, and I came up, and this was my cousin's baby.
And this is Linda. Linda's been traveling all over the hospital with me.
A visit to Toledo Hospital by the Osmonds fills the hallways with excited fans of all ages. It's something the famous brothers do often for hospitalized children to lift their spirits. The reasons are even more personal for Alan, whose third son was born 5 weeks premature.
We almost lost little Douglas, but it was the children's hospitals that really helped him and kept him to, got him healthy, and he's now 6 years old and just brighter than a dollar. To Stevie, you know where Marie Osmond is? It's my sister, and she just had her tonsils out 2 weeks ago. You never know when you're going to need them. At the time, they didn't have the equipment that they needed for my little boy. And so I said, it didn't matter how much money you had, it didn't matter who you are, if you don't have it, you don't have it. And my wife and I said at that time, boy, if there's anything we can do for these hospitals, we really want to get behind them.
And they have. But America remembers the Osmonds not as parents, but youngsters who grew up on TV.
Travel the road, sharing our load, side by side.
May God keep you in His tender care.
Just where does all this musical inspiration come from? The Osmonds will tell you it's their strong faith in family, God, and the Mormon Church. This is Temple Square, a beautiful 10-acre site in the heart of Salt Lake City. It's home to the Mormon Church and the 350-voice-strong Tabernacle Choir. Salt Lake City is also home to the Children's Miracle Network Telethon, started 3 years ago by the Osmond family. It's become an entertainment mecca in the midst of the Rocky Mountains.
We're gonna have a miracle tonight, I know.
The miracle begins right here in the Osmond Studios in Orem, where for 21 hours, the makeup mirrors and dressing rooms are filled with the entertainment industry's most famous and beautiful faces. The Osmond Foundation, a nonprofit organization founded by the Osmond family, is the producer of the Children's Miracle Network Telethon. It's a celebration of the accomplishments of services like those offered at the Medical College of Ohio and the Toledo Hospital. The goal is to improve the quality of life for children.
Because, you know, you're planning 20 minutes, we're planning 40, and...
This is how it starts, at a production meeting of hospital telethon coordinators and television hosts.
Now, as we approach our third year, we have 140 television stations. We represent 115 hospitals. We're going to be seen in 80% of the TV households in the United States and 50% of the TV households in Canada in just our third year.
Action.
Hi, I'm Jill Olmsted, here with John Schneider and Marilyn McCoo, getting ready for the Children's Miracle Network Telethon.
We certainly are. On June 1st and 2nd, we are going to make miracles happen.
That's right, and remember, all the money you donate here in Northwest Ohio.
I feel it is the most worthwhile of telethons because you don't have to have a certain disease. You don't have to have a certain sickness. If you're a kid and you hurt, the Children's Miracle Network Telethon helps you out.
If someone pledges in Toledo, for instance, it stays in Toledo. If somebody pledges in L.A., it stays in L.A. Or Salt Lake City, stays Salt Lake. And it doesn't go into one massive pool.
From the mountains of Utah to the Great Lakes of Ohio, the weekend of June 1st and 2nd will be a time to make miracles happen. We hope you'll participate by watching and contributing to the Children's Miracle Network Telethon, broadcast on the cable system Channel 5A. We'll be back in a moment with more miracle workers. These kids have to be fighters. That's one parent's explanation of how youngsters get through major surgery, not once, but several times. Oris Tabner has a young friend who truly is one of the miracles.
Well, I am 11 years old, and I was born with spina bifida.
How many of you know a commercial on TV that is based on a nursery rhyme?
But Corey Harrison's handicap has not stood in his way. What I like about him is his cheerful attitude, despite his lifelong medical problems. Why, he even tackles an English assignment in good humor.
I just went back in March, but when I went back in March, I was only in for like a couple weeks, and then I had to go in for another operation.
Corey's classmates at Door Street Elementary seem unaware of his handicap.
They treat me like a regular human being, like I wear regular shoes or something. They treat me like that. They treat me like I'm one of the guys or something.
People here seem to be almost blind to the handicapped, although I realize you can never be completely blind to it. But we kind of go on our merry way and try to let handicaps interfere as little as possible and try to deal with the child rather than the handicap.
As I watched Corey work, I was amazed at his ability to be just one of the kids.
Except for on the Olympic Day that's coming up. They call it the Olympic Day. They've got high hurdles and stuff like that. I can't participate in that.
Why don't we go down and sit down over here? Hey, look at these baseball cards here. You're scooting around pretty good, aren't you?
Yep.
What Corey lacks in athletic ability, he makes up for with his fantastic baseball collection. I guess we had an immediate rapport because he told me he watched my sports show all the time. So how can you not like a young man with such good taste?
I just love the sport. It was almost like I was born with a baseball and a bat in my hand.
I didn't find out until last year's telethon that Corey had 8 major surgeries before he was 1 year of age. 20 operations altogether in his short lifetime.
What's your favorite cards?
Those two.
Steve Sachs and Lance Parrish?
Yep.
How come Steve Sachs?
Because he's a good second baseman.
He plays for the Dodgers, doesn't he?
I know.
Yeah. Well, I knew you knew. It's just me that doesn't know. You embarrass me because you know all those things.
I should mention our budding friendship almost expired when I found out he knew more about the ball players than I did.
Now who does he play for?
Milwaukee Brewers.
Son of a gun. I can't catch you on anything.
Plays right field. He's a very nice friend. Me and him are like buddy and buddy. Together forever.
In his 6 years, Jeremy Helly hasn't been through as many operations as Corey, But open-heart surgery is something a little boy remembers, especially when he looks at the scrapbook of his 3 surgeries. When you look back at these pictures, what do you think about?
I think that I'm in the hospital.
You don't like being in the hospital. Why is that?
Because I'm afraid what they're going to do.
It just seemed that he just wasn't going to make it the last time, and almost everybody felt that way. But he surprised everybody. He ended up pulling through, was out of the hospital in 3 weeks.
And now, as you look at him running around outside, what do you think?
Holy terror.
Carla Vollmer can smile now because her son is doing well after complicated and life-threatening surgery to repair a congenital birth defect. Jeremy was just days old when cardiologists found he had only 1 pump in his heart instead of 2. In a rare procedure when Jeremy was 2, doctors put in an artificial blood vessel called a conduit to reroute blood through the heart.
So nowadays we're permitting that 1 pump to be the pump to the body and to then just hook up the blood vessel to the reservoir chamber, eliminating the right-sided pump, and that's what was done for him. Jeremy represented one of those problems where we can't really cure the problem, but we can do so much to palliate, to make it better, that essentially he's living a normal life now, which he couldn't before the surgery.
Jeremy outgrew his first conduit, and the operation was repeated in January with obvious good results. As for the long term, doctors are optimistic, but the procedure is still too new to make any guarantees. But it's hope, and that's more than children like Jeremy had before.
Good.
Lullaby and good night may sleep softly surround you while your dreams fill your eyes with a melody of love.
My first thought was babies that small don't live. I really, I was used to having larger sized children, and I seen Beth and my knees got weak. Bake me a cake as fast as you can. That was good, baby.
The little miracle of a year ago is now 15 pounds of healthy, happy energy. Born 14 weeks premature, Beth Cohen had half of her stomach removed at infancy, so she'll always be a tiny girl. Her twin brother Dustin was not as lucky. He died from a brain hemorrhage after just 2 weeks of life. What a difference a year makes for the family now at home in Lima. When you look at her now, what do you think?
It's just a miracle. Scary just sometimes. I get breathless, just, I'm real happy. The doctors have done so much, and they still are.
Dr. Ehrlich and Dr. Davis both talked to us.
3.5-week-old Lindsay Wall is about to have open heart surgery. Doctors must repair an artery which is wrapped around her windpipe and choking her.
She'll probably come back with a couple of tubes in her chest to drain some of the extra drainage out so that she doesn't have any problems breathing.
It was very scary. We didn't know what to do. But we just had to leave it in the hands of the doctors, what they said was wrong, and hope that they knew what they were doing. And right now we can see that they did, and we appreciate that very much.
Surgery corrected the problem, and now, 1 year later, the chest scar is barely visible. The future looks bright.
She's just one healthy little girl. She's very happy-go-lucky little girl, and just really a miracle.
This is where many of the miracles occur. The 60-bed neonatal intensive care unit of Toledo Hospital, one of the largest in the country. Infants are taken care of here that are born too early or too sick.
And therefore their organs are too premature to sustain the normal life. And what we do is we try and do what the placenta and the uterus can, even though we can never do it as well.
This is Laura Ann Johnson, born May 11th at 2 pounds 11 ounces. She'll be in this isolette for as long as it takes for her lungs to mature and to maintain her own body temperature. About 8% of all babies are born premature, and it's always a shock to parents expecting a normal, healthy infant.
There's a fear factor of whether the baby will survive or not. You're actually almost worried to tell people because, you know, you're almost afraid to build a bond between you and the baby.
Parents often feel a sense of separation, seeing their child hooked up to monitors and in an isolette. So touching and frequent visits are encouraged.
We try to get up at least twice a day and spend a couple hours each visit. I feel a lot better when I'm here and can see her and can see the monitors, and there's something inside of me. I just want to be right here all the time.
Tonight, you've met some of Northwest Ohio's miracles and miracle workers, people in our community who have faced life and death challenges on a daily basis and won. We thank them for sharing their stories, and we thank you for joining us tonight for the Miracle Workers.